Right here is the key I told you about. So we want to make sure there's no pressure on this thing. So this valve going into it is closed, and the valve coming out of it is open. So we want to close that. Boom. So now this is isolated. So what we want to do is take the key and turn this. See a couple drips of water come out?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm going to leave that loose while we do that, because this is going to want to drain. All right, so now what we want to do is unplug this. So you squeeze. Can you see that? The size of that thing there?
Wait, let me just...
Take my fingers. You squeeze these two things. And you grab it and you just lift it straight up. Lift straight up and straight out. And there is your light bulb, the one you're taking out. Now on the new light bulb, you want to be careful not to touch the glass. So I should put gloves on when I do this with the new bulb. And we want to loosen the bottom of this, which will be careful not to damage it because it's plastic. Just gently loosen it. Now there should be see the spring that's in there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the spring that fell out. I'm going to replace it, but that's where you want to make sure that spring goes. I'm going to put the new spring in. Now, you might be wondering what the spring does. Just sort of goes in the bottom like that. And then the light, when you put that long light tube in there, let me show you. And I'm probably going to end up breaking this one in the meantime while I'm showing you all this. So here's the light bulb. All right, they're not the same at both ends. One end is just like a cap. The other one has 4 electrode plugs on it for the...
3. You mean 3?
No, there's 4 there.
Oh, I see them. Okay.
Okay, now what this does, when it goes in the bottom, the spring pushes it back up. Make sure that that's all it does is push it up like that. And when it's in there, it's a lot more stable because it's inside the glass tube, which, by the way, this is how that's going to look if it was inside. I'm going to get my light on this. My light seems to be dimming here. So when you screw this into the bottom, this glass tube goes down and sits inside an O-ring in there. The spring pushes the glass up, and see how it bounces in there?
Mm-hmm.
That's the spring doing that.
Okay.
So that keeps tension on it and keeps it up where it needs to be. And if you don't have the spring in there, which I didn't have the first time, the light falls too far down in the bottom, and it's a problem. All right, so that's how that goes. All right, don't break anything if you can help it. Now, the old glass tube is still in the bottom here, right? So what I need to do is I need to unscrew the top here, same way. It's the same kind of thing as the bottom, right? You take it off, and what you'll see here is a rubber O-ring here, right? That's what's keeping the water in, because if I pull that O-ring out, the water's going to gush all over the place. And we'll look down the bottom here, and I'm assuming I can see there's an O-ring at the bottom as well. So that's what seals the glass tube in there. Let me get some gloves on. Okay. All right, I got 2 pair of gloves. This is for touching the light bulb and not getting grease on it or any dirt, because you don't want that. That's when we get the new light bulb out. And then the second set of gloves is to protect me if I break the glass. And we should see this come up There it goes. And there's the water. There's the water, and the O-ring fell out. And we can pull this out. All right, so this is why we get a new tube. Can you see all that dirt on there?
Yeah.
And yeah, so that blocks the UV light, so we don't want all that. But I'm going to collect the old O-ring first. There's the one that fell off, and then here's the one that came off. It's coming off the top. So now we have those two O-rings if we need them. All right, so this is essentially just a pot. It's just a long, skinny pot with a light bulb going down through the center of it.
Look at that later.
All right, wiping off the excess. Okay. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see this or not, but the O-ring will fit in the bottom, and when I screw that on, it'll push the O-ring where it needs to go. One of the things I tried to do is give myself enough room. I mounted this high enough so I had enough room to get under it like this. See how close that is to the floor? That's a little, okay. I put the bottom on like this, and I screw that on like so. You have to guide it up here a little bit. You have to guide it so it doesn't just go right up through the center. See how I had to do that?
Yeah.
You should be able to get away with finger tight or hand tight, not necessarily finger tight, but we're going to test it before we put the light bulb in. All right, so I got that pretty firmly tightened. Now I got to put the O-ring on the top, same way. See how I put that on? And I just push it down a little bit, like that. I take the top piece and I screw that on. Be careful not to cross thread it. And now, close the radiator key. Because we don't want the water to come squirting out of there. Put the key back so it's there when we need it again. And then I'm going to open this valve, and one of two things is going to happen. Either nothing, or there's going to be water squirting everywhere. So let's see what happens. What you heard was the air that was trapped up in there getting pushed around and coming out there. Okay. So far this is a good sign. We're going to give that a minute or so. And I haven't put any wrenches on that. I have everything hand tight. I got the spring in there. So now, what we do is we wait. If we don't see any water leaking, then it'll be safe to put the light bulb in. This is where the gloves are important. I'm going to make sure that they're clean too. I don't want to get any grease on the outside of that glass because it does affect it. These light bulbs can break. So again, we got the flat side that goes in like so. I'm going to get these cords out. Again, I have enough room above it where I can do this without causing any serious damage. Now watch this. It should bounce. That's your spring. So your spring is working. Then you look here and you have, when you look at this thing, first of all, there's the things I was squeezing to get it out. See? Those two things to get it loose. There's the locks. So these go on this side here. So You got 3 receptacles in there, and you got 4 receptacles here. But notice how they're at different levels?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that the one that is the furthest away, which is this one, has to line up with the one that's the closest to it. So this one will go into the furthest one. This is how they would go. This would go like this. See how that goes?
Yep.
I'm gonna get so you can actually plug it in up here without. You can take a look and make sure. See how it all. You can't do it any other way, so you can't get it wrong. So you just make sure it's pushed in there firmly. Drop it in carefully, and then you hold both sides and go. Heard a click?
Mm-hmm.
So now that's, oh, there we go. That's in there. Now we take this and we plug it in to reset the timer. This is the control for the light. It's a ballast and some other things, but it'll read a number out in days here. To reset it, because we just changed the light bulb, that's good for 1 year. You turn off the power. Press and hold, and power it up. There it is. Now it says 365. I'll get a shot of that. You can see it this way. Turn the light bulb off. I don't know if the camera's going to get that or not, but I'll take a picture too. I want to show you that in here you can see a light. That's the only place that you can see if the light bulb is actually on.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
All right. So if that's off, you got a problem. All right. So I'm not going to worry about the second filter. That filter, we didn't clean this one. All right. This is the last filter it goes through. That's only there in case something goes wrong with a water softener, which is basically a big tank full of tapioca-looking beads. If that tank should break, those beads will get out, and if they get into your house, they're going to clog up everything. Every faucet, every toilet, everything will be clogged with these beads. That is there to protect the house from the beads. That's all. So if it hasn't failed, we don't really need to. I can back flush it just to show you, but that's its role. So really, this you can back flush, that you can back flush. The water comes over here from the well. It goes 2 different directions. It goes this way out to the hoses. That's just raw water out to the hoses. In the winter, we drain that line so it doesn't freeze. Then the other water goes this way. It goes a couple pressure gauges. They're there to let you know if something goes wrong with the filter. If they're not the same pressure, then something's wrong. Okay? So it goes through this filter, comes down through this valve, which is open, comes up, goes into this filter, which ironically, this filter has, these little filters have big pores, and the big filter has little pores. So they catch rocks and sand. This will catch like real small things like 10 microns, which is really small. This will catch those. So this is your main filter. And the reason this is here is you want to catch anything you want to catch anything bigger than 5 microns in size, which is very small, because if that thing gets into this, that little chunk of whatever it is enough to make a shadow. So the light bulb's on trying to kill or have an effect on the microorganisms that might be in the water. And these are like little clouds. If dirt got through there, it'd be like a cloud. If the cloud gets in the way of the light, the little organism is going to survive it. Mm. So the reason you filter it is to make the light work. That's why you do it. Also, it's for the general purposes of filtering. All right, so we come out and we go through this valve. This valve is open. It would come down. We go through this valve. This valve is open. That comes in, goes in bottom, comes out the top. This valve we close. Let's open that. There goes the air upstairs. So now that will go, not that we're going to do anything with it, but that from there goes down through here, goes into the water softener, comes out of the water softener through this valve. Can't go this way because that valve is closed. Goes along that bottom pipe, comes up the bottom pipe here, goes through the last filter, which I'll back flush since we're here. Won't hurt anything to back flush it. It's a little awkward with that pipe in the way, but I'll get a shot. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Good enough. That got a lot of the air out. It moved it around. So then it goes through there, goes up this pipe, goes over, around, goes up that pipe, and that goes to all the, that's all the water in the house except for the kitchen sink. There's the kitchen sink. Let me just get up and show you. This one goes to everything. The boiler, to all your hot water, which eventually you get hot water. All the water that you use in the house goes through this pipe, except for the cold water in the kitchen sink. That goes through this pipe. Now, if for some reason you wanted soft water in the kitchen sink in the cold, all you'd have to do is this. Close this valve. So the kitchen sink no longer gets water, but you go, oh, you know what? Open this valve, and now the soft water comes up. That used to go up here, now it goes to both of them. So the water comes up, goes to both of them. Now you got soft water in the kitchen sink. We want to drink unsoftened water. That's just a personal choice. So we leave it like this. And this tool is just to help you, because sometimes those valves get a little sticky. And then we leave it up here for safekeeping.
When we drink our non-soft water upstairs in the kitchen sink, are we still getting little tiny bugs in the water?
No, because first of all the kitchen water that you drink gets filtered twice. Once by that, once by this, and it goes through the UV light.
Okay, the only thing it doesn't go through is the water softener.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All righty.
And we're not going to waste those resources on hose water, washing the car, watering the grass. That's why this line doesn't go through any of this. This line just comes over from the well and goes right on out to the hoses.
Okay.
And we're done.